right, y'all know what it is, man. What's going on with y'all, man? Welcome to the Talkin Shit show, man. Oh man, crazy news, man. Breaking news, man. I guess we lost another legend, man. Tina Turner passed away, man. And we're gonna get to a couple other things, man. But y'all already know, man. Y'all know I'm from the city, man. So y'all already know I wanted the king to get something else, get another one, man. But it is what it is, man. The clock struck 12 on that Cinderella story, man. They did good. They fought hard, but they just got matched up against a better team overall, all the way down the bench, up and down that thing, man. Anyway, let's get to it, man, because I know y'all heard enough about that all damn day and shit. But it is what it is, man. Let's get on to it, y'all.
News in the music world. Tina Turner, the legendary rock and roll singer and performer, has died at the age of 83 after a long illness in her home near Zurich, Switzerland. Turner, born Anna Mae Bullock in 1939, was the daughter of sharecroppers in rural Tennessee before she became the queen of rock and roll, and even taught Mick Jagger how to dance. After years of performances across the South, she eventually rose to the highest levels of rock stardom. First as the electric frontwoman of the Ike and Tina Turner Revue with her ex-husband Ike, but she also had massive success on her own with a slew of hits, including Private Dancer, The Best, and of course, What's Love Got to Do with It. Let's go right to Rahema Ellis with the tales. Rahema, this cuts deep, this news.
It really does. There's so many people all around the world who loved Tina Turner. As you point out, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, and once with a husband and then as a solo artist. And this statement was posted from her official Facebook page about her death. It says, "It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of Tina Turner. With her music and her boundless passion for life, she enchanted millions of fans around the world and inspired the stars of tomorrow. Today, we say goodbye to a dear friend who leaves us all her greatest work, her music. All our heartfelt compassion goes out to her family. Tina," it says, "we will dearly miss you." She was a devout Buddhist and credits her religion with helping her to survive a turbulent marriage with Ike. And she went on and had an illustrious career, including the greatest of Tina Turner and her world tour that she had, the final tour some years ago. And it was an amazing performance. I had the pleasure of being able to attend one of those concerts at here in New York. And Tina Turner will be missed by so many people all around the world.
Man.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today.
That's crazy, y'all. That's definitely nuts. Rest in peace, Anime, man. You already know what it is. So we're going to go ahead and...
The details, Camille, just terrifying moments to talk about here.
And I'm bringing this up.
Yeah, an absolutely horrific situation for these customers. I mean, imagine you're going in to maybe buy a pack of cigarettes or a pack of gum or whatever, and suddenly you find yourself locked inside and you can't get out, and the gas station attendant is not letting you out until it's too late. Take a listen.
I think he should be charged. I really do.
A gas station clerk is now being charged in connection with a triple shooting at a Detroit gas station on May 6th. Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worthy says Al Hassan Aish played a role in the shooting death of an innocent customer because he pushed an automatic security button locking the doors. It happened at this mobile on McNichols near the lodge. Customers trapped inside with the gunman upset about his $4 purchase being declined. Police say Samuel McCrae shot all three of them. Gregory Kelly died at the scene. The other two men survived.
Minding your own business, you come into a business and you get shot. I mean, what kind of system would that make?
Meanwhile, the store clerk, just 22 years old, was not in harm's way.
He was behind the bulletproof. He should have never locked the door.
Aish is being charged with involuntary manslaughter. Investigators say he eventually pushed a security button to unlock the doors, but failed to tell the customers. They say that was just seconds before McCrae started shooting.
So I can tell you right now that the gas station remains closed. Police closed it down the day of the shooting. Actually happened in the middle of the night, so later that day they closed it down because it was an unauthorized business, not licensed. Nothing to do with the shooting, but it still remains closed to this day. And again, this suspect expected to be formally charged, and we'll get a first look at him tomorrow morning. Reporting live, Camille Amiri, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, sadly, in Detroit and many other big cities, gas station parking lots or the stations outdoors are considered the danger zones. Here, you don't imagine that someone would be trapped inside with a gunman, making that the worst place to be.
Yeah, and it really makes you think, too, that, you know, this was an argument between the store clerk and the guy who wanted the stuff, even though he couldn't pay for it. He was declined. So he tried to leave with that stuff. And then, of course, he hits that button like you can't get out. But then things escalate. And then you see that these people are trapped inside and they can't get out. And then he hits the button, but he doesn't tell them. I mean, it's a horrible scenario. It's just something that none of us imagined that we would ever be a part of. Our heart goes out to everybody involved in this.
Unimaginable terror inside, and such a sad loss at the same time.
Okay, y'all, so just a quick update on that right there. What's going on with that right there is I just got word from people like pretty much at the source, at, you know, my people's in Detroit, that the family is suing the clerk, the store owner, and also Exxon/Mobil. So everybody getting sued. They suing everybody, which they should be. You know what I'm saying? They definitely should be. So let's move on, man, because I know my camera's starting to act up. Let's move on.
Sir, who knocked out a man with a single punch. And afterwards, DPD said he was not truthful about how it all happened. But before the department got a chance to fire him, that officer got a new job down the road. 7 investigator Ross Jones has more on how the community is reacting to his latest investigation and why the state is stepping in.
We should not have to learn about this on the news. We should have been told about this.
At last night's meeting of the East Point City Council, our investigation caught the public's attention.
Anyone who is not a police officer,
somebody need to take Dutchess out.
If they punch somebody out like that, knocked them unconscious, they would be charged with battery.
As we reported last night, Officer Kyrie Roberts faced termination in Detroit after punching out this man, Marcus Alston, on camera. DPD found that Roberts punched him without justification, that he failed to render aid after knocking him out, and that he was not truthful with investigators. But before DPD got a chance to fire Roberts, East Point Police hired him back in September.
Did the department drop the ball here?
No, not at all.
How are you so confident?
We're not the licensing authority. The state of Michigan is, and we go by what they say.
Public Safety Director George Rohib said his department did nothing wrong in hiring Roberts and insists their background check into the officer was thorough. Rohib said he knew Wayne County's prosecutor declined to bring criminal charges against Roberts, but admitted he never even saw the video of Roberts punching Alston until we showed it to him.
Could this have been a thorough background check if he didn't even pull up the video that was all over social media?
I would say no.
Cardi DeMonico has been a city council member in East Point for the last 8 years and says his public safety director needs to be transparent about what the department knew of Roberts' history at DPD and why he decided to give him a badge.
Are you comfortable hiring this officer?
I would certainly have to say no. I would have not hired this officer knowing all this.
The MCOLS Act requires that every agency perform a comprehensive background investigation to determine character fitness.
Tim Burgoyes is executive director of MCOLS, the state agency that licenses every officer in Michigan. When an officer leaves a department for whatever reason, their license is deactivated. And before another agency can hire that officer, they need to demonstrate that their license is in good standing. MCOLS is now looking into what happened here, but already there are signs that both departments may have dropped the ball. Detroit police, we've learned, didn't report that Roberts had left their department until October 10th, weeks after he resigned, and East Point had already hired him. When they finally did, they reported his license was in good standing, even though he was facing serious charges that could have led to his firing. As for East Point, their public safety director told me he was unaware Roberts was facing any internal charges while at DPD. And as of last week, he has declined to take my calls.
Of course,
well, we
of
are
course, this is a
concerned.
big
We have
ass
received
clusterfuck.
information that indicates that perhaps the separation was not in good standing. We don't know that for sure yet, and so we'll investigate that.
I understand EPD is short-staffed, but I'll tell you what, I'd rather we're short-staffed than have somebody like that in our department. That's putting all of us at risk.
And we have tried repeatedly to reach East Point's mayor and city manager for comment on this story, but neither have returned our calls. Tonight, Officer Roberts remains at East Point PD. From the newsroom, I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.
Okay, Ross, thank you for your reporting on that story.
The first time you made a sale online was also the first time you heard of a...
That shit's so crazy, man. He literally punched the shit out that dude, man. So this is what I be talking about when I say this is a prime example when we come on here and we say soon as the police do something, it usually happens to the white ones, but now it's a black one. As soon as the police do something wrong, somebody else hire them in down the street and they act like they didn't even know. He fucking knew. He knew right when that shit came out. He knew when it happened because the department was talking about it. They was talking about it. They didn't need it to come out on news or they didn't need it to come out on social media. He didn't need to look at social media because the actual police themselves was talking about that shit. And I guarantee that. I guarantee they was talking about it. Prime example, man. That damn blue line, man. That shit's so corny. Anyway, man. Moving on. Oh, Lord. What is this?
Shock and heartbreak tonight after 2 babies are found dead at a home.
Lord.
And more questions than answers right now as neighbors try to come to grips with this tragedy. Homicide detectives called in to investigate. Good evening, I'm Caitlin McCarthy. Jim Nelson has the night off. Our Michelle Nix sorting out what we know right now.
The investigation into those 2 dead infants reportedly found in a trash bin of all things, according to witnesses, is centered around this Buckeye Shaker Square neighborhood where most people have lived for decades, and they wonder how desperate someone must be if they think they can throw away children.
Shocked, sickened, disturbed. The only way to describe how this young woman feels after hearing the news that the bodies of 2 infants, twins, were found in a trash bin, according to neighbors, behind this home on Saturday in the 2800 block of Ludlow Road in Cleveland.
I'm a single mom.
Wow.
I would never even conceive a thought of ever hurting my baby like that.
Cleveland police confirmed that there were 2 infant fatalities discovered at this home just after 7 Saturday night, but they're not saying how the babies were discovered or where. A neighbor who asked not to be identified is both sickened and concerned.
I have heard that the discovery was made by a landscaper that came over to do the grass, and in the process of dumping his yard waste, he opened the trash receptacle and saw the infants.
What's unclear is if the children were born unresponsive, became ill after birth, or if someone did the unthinkable.
God forgive the mother, but I hope it was a miscarriage or a stillbirth or something where the children were not living and she didn't make a conscious decision to end their lives.
19 News has confirmed that the person believed to be the mother of the infants was being questioned by investigators on Sunday. It's unclear if that person is a teen or adult, if they've been arrested, or if criminal charges have actually been filed in the infant deaths.
You would think there would be some type of parental or family support that would not lead to something like this.
Something like this that's clearly a crime and has rocked this Buckeye Shaker Square neighborhood to its core. Neighbors wondering if the mother felt she had nowhere to turn.
It's a lot, but there are resources. There's other single moms, you know, and nothing is wrong with going to, you know, talk to somebody when you're down, feeling down. Postpartum is real.
It's important to note that under the law, there are what's called safe havens. If you're a parent and you feel you can't take care of your newborn child, you can drop off that baby to a fire station or a hospital, and you won't face a penalty. Reporting in Cleveland, Michelle Nix, 19 News.
Wow, man.
It's time for me to get set up for therapy, and I use this room as...
It's never been a better time to launch.
The law is unconstitutional, while Governor Wes Moore says it's needed as Maryland takes an all-of-the-above approach to combating gun violence.
We have to attack the issue of crime from every angle.
At the 7th bill signing of the Moore-Miller administration, Governor Wes Moore signed the Gun Safety Act of 2023, otherwise known as the state's concealed carry law. It prohibits a person from wearing, carrying, or transporting a gun onto certain property without the owner's permission, like schools, government buildings, and certain healthcare facilities.
With what the Supreme Court did recently in terms of the Bruin case, Maryland is staying at the front edge, the cutting edge of everything we can do to make sure that we're keeping guns in the hands of lawful gun owners and out of the hands of those who have no business owning guns in Maryland.
Moments after the concealed carry expansion bill was signed into law, the NRA announced its new lawsuit against the state. In a statement, an NRA spokesperson writes in part, quote, Maryland previously had one of the most restrictive wear and carry permit schemes in the country. Now, in order to carry legally, Marylanders have to go through a process that's somehow more burdensome, lengthy, and expensive to get a permit, yet effectively doesn't allow them to carry anywhere in the state. The NRA is suing because this is illegal under the U.S. Constitution, but it's also important to note these laws defy common sense. Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates says since the General Assembly passed the bill, 26 people have been killed in Baltimore. He says the governor's signature on this bill is evidence that the surge in gun violence across the state is one of the most pressing issues for Maryland leadership. And that bill will now become law on October 1st.
Wow. Well, we know it's finna crack down everywhere, man.
The search is intensifying for an alleged member of the Blood Street gang who's accused of tracking down a man and murdering him in the middle of a neighborhood. Here's Alexa Ashwell with Maryland's Most Wanted.
This case, now a nationwide search involving federal, state, and local partners. Investigators say this man, Raymond Campbell, who's accused of murder, has been on the run for nearly 2.5 years and is believed gang affiliation may be helping him elude law enforcement.
October 14th, 2020, Hagerstown, Maryland. A man is found lying face down on a sidewalk in a neighborhood on Henry Avenue. Officers respond and make a gruesome discovery. The victim was dead and had multiple gunshot wounds.
He had a gunshot wound to his head, his chest, abdomen, and hands.
Officers canvassed the neighborhood and, according to investigators, are able to view surveillance footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera.
They looked at surveillance footage and realized that this was a very deliberate act.
A deliberate act with multiple players.
Do you think this murder was gang-related?
Detectives unsure of an exact motive, but investigators say the evidence led them to 5 individuals, including 35-year-old Raymond Campbell. 4 of the suspects have been arrested. The believed driver of the getaway car, identified as Alexander Brooks, who will be sentenced this month, Brock Smith, whose trial is scheduled for this July, 2 other defendants who had their charges dismissed, and Campbell, who has been on the run for more than 2.5 years.
So the leads locally have run dry, and that's why we believe that there's a very good chance he could have fled the state.
Investigators believe Campbell may have fled Maryland to San Francisco, California, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, or even Florida.
Do you feel his gang affiliation has helped him elude law enforcement?
So in this case, even if an individual is just an associate of a gang, he's going to have an extensive support network. And that would be a good reason as to why he's been able to avoid apprehension to this point.
Campbell, investigators say, has a criminal history that dates back nearly 20 years, with arrests for attempted murder, armed robbery, assault, and drug distribution. A believed gang member with a history of violence, a fugitive, now wanted for murder.
So this individual should be considered armed and dangerous. If you think about the situation, the individual's criminal history, and the fact that this individual is allegedly capable of committing cold-blooded murder, it is absolutely in the interest of public safety that we take him into custody.
Take a good look. Campbell stands at about 5'10" and weighs approximately 160 pounds. Investigators say he goes by the nickname Uno and has distinct tattoos on his neck. If you have any information regarding his whereabouts, you're asked to contact the U.S. Marshal Service. The tip line number right here.
I ain't seen Most Wanted in forever.
Or you can contact agents directly at 202-819-5058. Update. The quote-unquote damsel in distress who investigators say lured a man into a trap has been captured, thanks to your tips. Just 2 weeks ago, Hope Freeman appeared on Maryland's Most Wanted. The 43-year-old Baltimore woman is accused of setting up a man to get robbed and assaulted at gunpoint by pretending to need help with her car in North Baltimore back in March. Investigators say a viewer recognized Freeman and led agents to a home where she had been staying in West Baltimore.
As soon as the episode aired, within hours, I started getting phone calls. There was multiple citizens that were concerned about her being on the streets. Ultimately, I was able to obtain information that I provided to other investigators, and then we successfully arrested her.
If you recognize any of the fugitives on our board, including Campbell, remember, you can always remain anonymous, and you could earn a reward. Thanks for watching. I'm Alexa Ashwell. Here's another video to...
That's wild. Out here luring people.
Kills a 13-year-old child. Individuals say, listen, this was murder. He gets charged, but not with murder. The family is outraged. Put up the picture full mass. We brought you this story before. Franklin County grand jury has indicted Craig Butler on multiple felony charges, fatally killing a 13-year-old, Senzay Reed, last fall. None of the charges were for murder, however, despite witnesses noting that the suspect got out of his vehicle to shoot the teenager. The 37-year-old has since been arrested, charged, booked into the county jail, is awaiting his next day in court. Let me give you background. For the firearm charge, Butler faces 6 to 18 months in prison and a possible fine of $5,000. If found guilty of tampering with evidence, the man could serve up to a whopping 36 months in prison and for and a possible fine of $10,000. So I'm going to give you a reminder of what happened. Reports show one witness spotted Mr. Butler, who was the child's neighbor, exiting a red truck, firing at the 13-year-old Reed, and then driving off. That's called evidence of a guilty conscience. Police got a call about the shooting around 5:45 p.m. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the child gravely injured before paramedics transported him to the hospital. He was pronounced dead around 6:30 p.m. According to the autopsy, the child was shot twice, with bullets hitting him in his chest and right wrist. The Columbus Dispatch reports authorities arrested Butler for murder a day later with a $1 million bond. However, he was later released when those charges were dismissed 8 days after the shooting. What? Butler said he simply acted in self-defense. Let's put up
13-year-old nigga, get the fuck out of here.
Franklin County Prosecutor G. Gary Tyak. The Franklin County Prosecutor's Office states the dismissal was, and I quote, standard practice before sending it to the grand jury. The Dispatch reports under an Ohio law that went into effect in 2019, a potential suspect no longer has to prove they shot someone in self-defense. Instead, the burden rests on the prosecution. A spokesperson from the Columbus Division of Police said Friday that they have officially closed the investigation into the teen shooting. Local station WCMH reports, and to the credit of the local law enforcement authorities, they actually charged the individual with the right charge. They charged the person with murder that same day, okay? So they charged the person with murder. This individual gets a $1 million bond. He's now squarely in the hands of the DA because, according to the police division, they have solved the murder. They arrested the right person. For them, case is closed. You move to the prosecutorial phase. Prosecutor gets it. Prosecutor decides, okay, well, let me utilize this particular element of the law, and we're going to move forward in this fashion. Now, two elements here are troubling. Number one, the way the prosecutor decided to not work the prosecutorial magic, so to speak, to ensure that a murder charge sticks. That's number one. But then you have this macrocosm, a system issue. The silliness of it all, okay? Naturally, if the law states
all right, I'm done
what
playing
the
with this.
prosecutor interprets the law to state,
this camera, y'all.
it definitely should not apply.
Next week I
the
will be
spirit
back
of
with
that law should not apply
a full scene.
to help
we won't be on
individuals
Discord
who
anymore.
kill 13-year-olds get away with it, right? Doesn't make sense. But we have this confusion inside of our statutory
I'll be
ranks
directly on YouTube.
when laws are literally being passed based on politics and not what actually works for everyday people. Now, in some contexts, some would argue on the left and say this law is actually a decent law for A, B, and C. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Implementation, execution, leadership, whoever is in charge will manipulate these rules, these policies, and these statutes to benefit them. So you can keep passing laws, good. You can keep creating statute, great. But if you have the wrong person in charge, it doesn't matter, all right? Sharing thoughts here.
I'm sick. This little boy had same last name, that curly hair, but
yep.
I love this child. And I don't understand how someone could hate this child so much.
Yeah.
That's what this is, and why we can't even let a grand jury decide when you have these district attorneys who are working overtime, not to work for justice, Dr. Ritchie, but to make sure people like that get off scot-free. The police who did their job and the charges, I guarantee you they were reprimanded in some way. I guarantee you somebody was spoken to about this.
Let's put the picture back up again. One of the arguments, the primary argument that was made, is that this grown-ass man was in fear of his life from a 13-year-old baby.
That's what I don't
So much so
believe.
that he had to kill the 13-year-old child by jumping out of his truck, shooting him, getting back in his truck, and driving off, according to the witness. That is his claim. His claim is being believed. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's even being believed. They don't give a damn. They don't care what the truth is. They just know he can get away with it because it plants a level of reasonable doubt. And at the end of the day, prosecutorial discretion rules the justice system.
What if you could do SEO smarter?
And a possible breakthrough in the missing persons case of the Bradley sisters, last seen in their Bronzeville home in 2001. Tonight, a woman in Texas claims to be Diamond Bradley, who was just 3 years old when she disappeared. CBS 2's Jermont Terry spoke to the Bradley sisters' great aunt, who is hopeful tonight. Jermont.
Erica, tonight the Bradley family tells us that the woman claiming to be Diamond did take a DNA test, and that will ultimately determine if she is who she claims to be. Now, the girl's great aunt says that they've been down this road many times before, but there is something different about this new claim.
In July 2001, Chicago police searched rail crossings, hundreds of abandoned buildings, and alleyways for Tianda and Diamond Bradley. The Bradley girls vanished out of their mother's third-floor apartment near 35th and Cottage Grove after being left alone. It was the largest search effort in Chicago's history, yet 10-year-old Tianda and 3-year-old Diamond were never found.
I got to see in this video, I'm looking at this video like, what is this?
The girl's great-aunt, Shalia Bradley Smith, is speaking of a 20-second TikTok video.
This is Diamond Bradley. Can I see your scar?
Where someone in Texas was claiming she was Diamond, the youngest of the Bradley sisters. When the woman contacted the aunt, there was hesitation.
Look, I'm not the police. Call the police.
Over the years, listen to how many people have claimed to be the girls.
We've had about 12, but easily dismissible.
But the young lady making this claim did something no one else has ever done in nearly 22 years.
I've never known or experienced somebody so eager to tear down the doors of the FBI to prove who they are. So that gives me a different dynamic of hope.
Shalea says Chicago FBI agents contacted her and informed her they took a DNA test and fingerprints from the woman.
The DNA shall tell the truth.
The young lady told the aunt she can't recall much, including the whereabouts of the oldest sister, Tianda.
She said, well, I kind of remember her, but I remember we were in a car. Then one day I woke up once they got us to the place where we were or wherever we was living. She said, I'd never seen her again.
As the family waits for DNA results, the aunt is comforted knowing Chicago waits just as anxiously to bring the Bradley sisters home.
Especially Chicago has embraced these girls, and they have not forgotten. And I thank them. I thank everybody.
Now, the woman told the aunt that she recently escaped from whoever was holding her against her will. At the time that 3-year-old Diamond disappeared, she had a scar on her forehead from an injury. This woman has a similar scar in the same area. We did reach out to the FBI, but they are not commenting on this ongoing investigation.
No, not yet.
Reporting live in the control room tonight, Jermont Terry, CBS 2 News.
They got to get all this shit together
Jermont,
first.
That first time you take a step back.
Investigator David Hammer showed how real estate fraud is on the rise in our area.
Oh boy,
but as
y'all
David
better
dug
watch out.
deeper, he found one man accused of real estate fraud in at least 7 lawsuits and banned for his actions by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court. And yet this self-described investor is still proudly posting his real estate conquests on social media. It's our David Hammer investigation on real estate.
How y'all doing, Dave? New Orleanian Jonathan Burton likes to go on social media and show how he scores big real estate deals. He shows himself telling people he can save their homes from foreclosure.
I'll make sure you get the $200,000 one way or the other.
Here he is on the Note Closers Show podcast, talking about what he calls his hustle.
I get a decision made, like, kind of like right then and there, like, okay, listen, you want to sell this thing, you know what I'm saying? Do you want to stay, you know what I'm saying? Tell me what's going on. I kind of find out like everything was going on.
Here's how Jonathan Burton describes his real estate investment process. He finds properties facing foreclosure or tax sale. He goes and knocks on the door and tells the owners he can help them save their home if they pay him instead. Then he has them sign some documents. He calls it collateral in case they don't pay him. But several owners allege in court Burton did nothing in exchange for their payments and tricked them into signing documents that actually turned their properties over to him. We've tried repeatedly over the last week to reach Burton, leaving phone, email, and text messages with him and some of his attorneys. But he did defend his methods on the podcast.
We're not taking advantage of anybody, you know what I'm saying? We're here to help and provide, good help, because if not, they'll drown. They're going to lose the property or whatever the case may be.
Public court and real estate records show Burton often pays nothing or some undisclosed valuable consideration to take ownership of houses that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even more.
I'm about to take down. I'm watching the match that work.
Last October, Burton went to Catherine Stewart's $1 million mansion in the Garden District and bragged on Instagram that he met with her for almost 5 hours.
I raised my kids here, my husband died here.
Stewart owned the home outright, but her husband took out a reverse mortgage in 2013 to pay for rising medical expenses. When he died in 2019, she owed nearly $400,000. She had an offer to buy the house for $1.1 million, plenty enough to stop the foreclosure. Then Burden showed up at her door.
They offered you $1.1 million, and they ain't gonna be able to perform.
I understand all of that.
I'm gonna offer you $700,000, and I'm gonna perform.
She signed what Burden told her in a text was just a, quote, backup offer. Instead, court documents show Burden filed it as a purchase agreement in the Orleans Parish land records, with all the dollar amounts scratched out. It was enough to cloud the property's title and block Stewart's sale to the real buyers, all with time running out to stop a foreclosure.
Ms. Stewart understood that this deal was nowhere near as good as the 1.1.
Sal Bivalacqua is an attorney.
But in her mind, based on what he told her, that was, if everything gets blown up, at least I have something left.
He represented Stewart and another homeowner who filed a similar lawsuit against Burden. They got Burden's documents removed from the official record both times, but in Stewart's case, she had to agree to pay Burden $85,000 not to hold up the sale anymore.
So he ends up coming out winning.
He walks away with $85,000 for putting up not a penny and misleading Miss Stewart and making a lot of false promises.
Johnny Robinson says he knows what that's like. He took care of his sister Lorraine after she had a stroke in 2017, and he hired bankruptcy attorney Jonathan DeTrenis in 2020 to file for bankruptcy protection and save the Central City home Lorraine had owned for 30 years.
She had every right to stop the foreclosure, save her house from foreclosure, and that's what we did.
But after Lorraine died in January of this year, Jonathan Burden filed this purchase agreement in the city land records, claiming Lorraine had signed the house over to him back in 2019. Again, the terms of the transfer are blacked out in the official record.
And it just didn't make sense to me. Why would Lorraine give up ownership interest in her property, then spend 3 years paying back mortgages and debts on the property, only to have it taken by someone for nothing?
Now, Burden comes to collect the rent from the tenants in Lorraine Robinson's old house. And when Johnny Robinson shows up, Burden calls the cops on him, because for now, city records show Burden is the rightful owner.
Yeah, leave this man alone, leave your tenants alone, and let it be done.
On the Note Closers show in 2019, Burden said this.
I'm a credit repair agent for this company called FES. All right, Financial Education Services.
Last year, the Federal Trade Commission shut down financial education services for preying on the poor with a, quote, credit repair pyramid scheme. The podcast host even asked Burden if it was hard to get an attorney to help him create loan documents.
No, my attorney, David Birdsong, he knows this. He knows all about this stuff.
David Birdsong is a title attorney at Gulf South Title in Metairie. He declined to go on camera, but he told us he's closed several real estate deals for Burden and answers legal questions for him, but added, quote, I would not characterize myself as his attorney in an ongoing relationship.
If you are sometimes helping people file bankruptcy so they can avoid a foreclosure.
Yeah, I don't do it myself. I consult them unless I got some type of power of attorney or some type of, something like that.
In 2020, a U.S. Justice Department trustee found Burden improperly filed bankruptcy petitions for at least 11 different homeowners, even though, quote, neither Mr. Burden nor his agents are licensed attorneys. The bankruptcy court responded by banning Burden from offering any more debt relief services or bankruptcy assistance, but none of it seems to stop him.
Maybe you can put him in jail, because, they hurting people out there, man.
Until then, Burden will keep getting folks to sign real estate deals with him.
Print your name, you gotta sign your name now.
And post them on social media. David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
Wow.
If you believe you're a victim of real estate fraud, the Louisiana Attorney General's office says you should report it to your local police or sheriff's office. Attorneys say you should never sign any sale or loan documents without consulting a real estate professional, a licensed realtor, or an attorney.
One of our goals is to make the transaction as easy as possible.
Make sure it's a real person y'all dealing with, man. Most definitely.
Cash in by charging you subscriptions for special features that
for the time being, are already included in the purchase price of your car. But why charge consumers one time when automakers could be charging you monthly for the perk of using your seat warmers? They're calling it features on demand, and it's going to make owning a car even more expensive than it already is.
As automakers can add technology on the fly through things they call features on demand or car subscription services, we're seeing more and more of these software and even hardware type upgrades coming to cars with a subscription type model. BMW famously about a year ago tried to have people pay for heated seats. This functionality is already in the car itself, but in order to turn it on, if you didn't buy it from the factory, they wanted you to pay a subscription. So they did that abroad. People heard about it here, very upsetting about that. Mercedes just added the ability to add acceleration boosts to its EVs via subscription. And then Toyota did the same thing with their connected features on their phone. You want to unlock the car or do things like that, you have to pay an extra fee by month to do these connected features on your phone.
Let's unpack the point made about BMW charging people for the heated seats to really internalize how insane this is. The seat warmers are already built into the car. The only thing BMW would get paid to do is turn the warmers on remotely, and that potentially translates to big profits with very little effort or cost for BMW. Here's another example by Mercedes, which announced that it would allow owners of the EQ series EVs to unlock more power through a subscription feature activated through the Mercedes app. The costs are pretty significant. For instance, for the EQE 350 4MATIC EV, great name, Mercedes notes prices of $60 per month, $600 a year, or just a lifetime cost. You could do a one-time lifetime cost of, nearly $2,000 to unlock an additional 60 horsepower. Kind of creepy that the horsepower of your vehicle can be manipulated remotely by the car company, right?
Man,
if you hate this, don't worry because you've got company. A new study from Cox Automotive this week found that 69% of respondents said that if certain features were available only via subscription for a particular brand, they would likely shop elsewhere. But if all car companies start rolling out features on demand, and many already are, consumers won't really have many options. Yahoo Finance reports that despite the rage that automakers are already noticing among car buyers, they're pushing ahead because they're counting on billions of dollars in revenue from subscription services. The editor-in-chief of the automotive research firm Edmunds told Yahoo Finance, quote, I think the general view is that this isn't going anywhere because most automakers have seen this as a significant revenue source. And that's not just luxury brands. GM has been very open about it. Ford is working on it. So this is the new frontier of how to generate revenue and honestly how to make Americans and car buyers even more miserable than they already are.
I'll be buying nothing but old schools.
Automakers have already included subscription fees in their financial models to predict their revenue and profits. Wall Street analysts and investors are counting on these additional dollars, beefing up the bottom line in future quarters, and thus boosting share prices. And look, as we all know, shareholder profits reign supreme, folks. We, the consumers, will just have to shell out cash for things that were once included in the purchase price of our cars so that the precious investors get a nice return on the brave act of parking their money in car companies in the quest for passive income. That's how this all works. Just when you think life couldn't get more complicated and more costly, companies find a way to do it. They're always gonna find ways to do it. They've got to maximize profits on behalf of their shareholders, and that's exactly what's happening with these subscription services for vehicles. It's insane.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emoji.
So y'all already know, man. Y'all know how to get to them. That's it for the show. tonight, man. Like I said, I'm getting ready to flip the script, man. We're not gonna be on Discord no more. They keep playing with my stuff, keep playing with the camera and all that. They cut the time off. Look at Chank looking funny like that. But shit, man. I'm gonna get that thing together for y'all, man. A couple crazy things, man. Again, man, rest in peace to anime, man. That shocked me. I didn't know that happened. We lost a great one, man. Oh hell, watch out there, man, for them if y'all under foreclosure, man. And trust, y'all under this shit does happen, man. This shit is still going on. They've been doing this shit forever, man. Y'all watch out, man. Watch out for them people, man. Watch out for them scammers, man. Make sure you got you a accredited place to get in business and you doing some business and shit from. So y'all go ahead and hit that like and that subscribe button. Like I said, next week we gonna be I'm sleep. Facts. Hey, but shit, like I said, man, y'all hit that like, that subscribe button, man. Share this shit. I'm gonna be sorry about the technical difficulties tonight, man. This shit's acting crazy. Now I want to act crazy. Now I want to act cool since we all done. But anyway, man, y'all thanks for coming out, man. I'm gonna keep this shit cracking, man. And they online, man, coming soon. Shit, y'all get up with me, man. All right, peace. Oh, don't forget, man. Tell somebody you love them, man. All right, peace.